I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by my co-host with Harrison Bader like hair.
Yeah, it's a weird ordeal. Katie is just proving to be childish.
Which is why I don't feel I would give $5 million to Jack Campbell.
I don't know. Baseball is one of those sports where anyone who makes the playoffs really can be a contender.
I think the Padres definitely do it.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
Kyrie Irving does have the track record of not being a great locker room fit, or even good locker room fit.
Bader got some luscious locks. I gotta say it.
This is Zach Bigley, the broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin. You guys better subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week, and the event it was last month, finally happened. And that, of course, is the trade deadline. And the man that informed me of the news, that will also inform you of the news in our trade predictions video, Austin.
Yeah, very interesting trade deadline because I expected a lot more players to get traded. There were some guys that I thought were on the block that were definitely going to get traded. I mean, we did a trade deadline prediction video, a video that was posted the night before the trade deadline, and all 6 of those guys ended up staying on their teams. So, Kevin, is that just us picking the wrong players, or is it just a weird deadline where some of the guys that we really thought were going to move didn't?
I would say it's a weird deadline because usually at least one player on our list gets traded. I don't remember who it was last year.
I can actually go up to that, so give me a second while you keep talking.
Yeah, I'll delay. It's a lot of the main guys were moved after or before the deadline, but there were a lot of moves, a lot of, I would say, big moves. But we'll talk about. We will say our biggest move, but it happened before the trade deadline. I would say Tanner Scott. That to me is a big move because I'm familiar with him on the show, but the Padres bought, which is something that goes to a video we've done on this season of what are the Padres doing? Because they sold with Soto, but they also traded to get Dylan Cease, and then they just traded a lot of key guys. Snelling, I've heard a lot of good things. Adam Azar, Graham Pauley, and Jay Brashears to the Marlins. And the Marlins were a team that sold. So, have you gotten to the
Yep, I have. So some players on our list that did get traded that we projected would include Yeimer Candelario, who went from the Nationals to the Cubs. Rich Hill, who went from the Pirates to the Padres. Those are just a couple names that we had that did get traded. I think CJ Cron also. Did CJ Cron get traded?
CJ Cron, yes. He got traded to the Angels. He was on the Angels.
You are correct. He did get traded to the Angels. So yeah, it's there's been a lot. Usually it's multiple guys that get traded, but it is interesting to see.
Okay, so we'll go kind of the people on our list were Tariq Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Yandy Diaz. I know it's in the doc, but going off memory, Yandy Diaz and Mason Miller, and then who's the final?
Vlad
Guerrero. Those were the guys that we did not. We thought. I am surprised Garrett Crochet or Tariq Skubal. I thought one of them was going to get traded. I said it in the video. I'm surprised that didn't happen. I would say the biggest high-profile starting pitcher, might be Jack Flaherty. And Tyler Anderson was not traded. That's another big loss.
That's the biggest one to me. Yeah. That's the one that's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I was completely shocked when I heard that. I don't know what necessarily changed the mind, or maybe they didn't change the mind and they were just asking for too much. I don't know.
I think it's bad. I think it's bad GM work by the Angels. How do you trade none of the guys when the only thing they did, like, we know they were working because they said Mike Trout was not going to return. how do you not trade one of your guys? I know you have a steep asking price and there's that salesmanship of it, but I believe Tyler Anderson has an opt-out this year.
I believe he does.
So you're going to lose him for nothing. I thought they had the same thing with Ohtani, which I understand with Ohtani, but you're
I
gonna lose
understand the
Tyler
Ohtani. Not wanting to trade Ohtani makes sense to me.
Yes. But not trading a guy that's 34, having an incredible year. It was also a seller's market. We'll get to the Astros trade in a little bit.
Yeah. Very, very weird.
So much for Tyler Anderson. So weird.
Yeah, he's a pitcher that right now has a 2.96 ERA. A guy that I am absolutely shocked, floored, in fact, that didn't get traded. 34-year-old that's having that good of a season that could really impact the right team. Just riding away on a team that's definitely not making the playoffs.
Yeah, like look at the Tigers did a great job. They got some prospects for Carson Kelly. They got 2 pitchers for Chafin, and they got the number 8 prospect and number 22 prospect from the Dodgers for Jack Flaherty, who's having a great season, but in the past has struggled.
It's more with injuries than anything else.
Yeah. Still, it was the seller's market, and you can look at what the Padres got, or Padres had to spend. The Padres also got
the Padres made a lot of moves.
Martin Perez is a good pitcher.
Well, they also got
Tanner Scott.
What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. Because he's their de facto closer. I liked what the Orioles did. They really upped their bullpen. They got Gregory Soto from the Phillies. I'm trying to see.
It doesn't appear that he has an opt-out.
Okay.
Tyler Anderson. I don't think he does.
So he's just a free agent?
Next year is his last. No, he has a contract for next year.
Okay.
But I still think that this was the year to get something for him.
Yes, because you also have that extra year deal.
Yeah. He's definitely worth more with that extra year.
Yes. Now, I'm looking. Orioles, I know, acquired a starting pitcher.
They got
Oh, was it Trevor Rogers?
Yeah, from the Marlins.
Yes, they also acquired Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't hate that.
I know. I like it, especially because they traded Hayes to the Phillies.
Who did the Cardinals get?
Cardinals. Oh, they got Tommy Pham, but I'm pretty sure they got
another one.
Oh, they traded Tommy Edman to the Dodgers in the Michael Kopech. Oh, the Rays acquired Dylan Carlson. The Cardinals acquired Eric Fetty.
Oh, that's right. I told you. Remember, he's actually doing extremely well this year.
Okay, I'm not really.
He's won the. You remember we did the video on the top, how a lot of the bad teams had really good starters. He's a 3.11 ERA this year.
Okay. And looking at the Royals acquired Michael Lorenzen and
interesting
from the Rangers.
Former All-Star.
Former All-Star. He did a lot of good for the Rangers. He does struggle walking, but I like it for the Royals, where the stat was when they had so many wins. It's a very small stat, but when they had 50 wins at this time of year, they won the World Series or went to the World Series. So
yeah,
Michael Lorenzen, good pickup. And I am looking at. Okay, now I think we've talked about Isaac. We mentioned Isaac Paredes. That was, to me, I would say he's better than Christopher Morel. and I like it for the Cubs, who are in a weird stage. I thought this was going to be a big year for them, but they
Well,
didn't.
and like you said, he's young. That you said that a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
That
he's
he's young, and
25.
I do think that is important.
Yeah, I would say the Rays had a good deadline. I saw they got Dylan Carlson. They got a lot of guys back, and oh, did you see? You mentioned Lane Thomas. We talked about
Mhm.
this in our Sellers video. Lane Thomas to the Guardians.
Yes, that's I think an amazing deal for both
Mhm.
teams. We'll be doing a video in the future on the Guardians, and in doing so, this is a big year for them, and they are number one team in the MLB at the moment, and that is absolutely huge for the fact that they are making a deal for a guy who I think is extremely, extremely good.
Yeah, and to talk about this deadline being weird, a lot of names that I would say I recognize and I'm sure you recognize were traded, but it was very under the radar, such as Brewers acquired Frankie Montas from the Reds.
Yeah, Montes has really fallen off since leaving the Athletics, and so I've been shocked by the fall. But yeah, that is a trade that went under the radar.
Yeah, now we'll mention some bigger trades, but let's go with what do you think was the biggest trade of this deadline?
I was gonna say Lane Thomas. The Guardians are the number one team in the MLB, and I do think that trade bolsters their outfield even further. They're a team that I don't think many people thought that they were going to be this good heading into the trade deadline, and then getting a guy that I definitely think is extremely talented is important. He had almost 30 home runs last year. He's a solid bat, and they need more of those guys.
Okay. I was not expecting that trade to be the one you named, but it is a good trade. I'll say I'm gonna go Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees.
I think
They've
that's
got a lot.
here's the thing about that. I think that's a little bit hindsight has 2020. And that's where I'm not going to say that trade because he has had 4 home runs since he came to the team. He's had his career high in home runs over 2 games. He's batting. He's a 1400 OPS, almost double what he had in Miami this year right now with the Yankees. But while the trade was big, he's always been a solid guy, not great. And while he has had an amazing start to his career, I didn't think it was that big of a trade. I thought it was a good trade. We needed more guys that were capable bats, and he's a capable bat. But I didn't think he made us into World Series contenders just based on that trade alone. So I
No, the
understand what you're
numbers.
saying, but it's a little bit of hindsight.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, are helping it. I would say my argument of why it's a big trade is I just am surprised the Marlins gave up him. Um, and
I
to
mean, they
someone
gave
like
up.
the
They traded 9 players.
yeah,
9. That's a third of their team.
but
I'm
I always
not
thought
all that shocked that they traded him.
okay, he felt like the cornerstone to me of that team, and then he's a solid player. He's not a superstar.
When I think of their cornerstone, I think of Alcantara, even though he's
Okay,
hurt.
that's fair. I would go position player of guy that can hit. I'm like, man, Jazz Chisholm. They had done a lot for him if he was their shortstop. Then they try to move him in center field, and to me it kind of screamed of like the Yankees are getting a very good position player. It's not a superstar.
I don't
As
think it's even very good. It's good. It's
it's good,
solid. He was
and I just
his OPS heading into his Yankees tenure was 730. That's not remarkable.
And I'm just surprised the Yankees bought someone like that because there's always been that kind of hope of like, okay, they got DJ LeMahieu, they got Glaber, there's Anthony Rizzo, they got young guys coming up. And I'm just surprised they went out and got it. And the early returns are signifying that it was a good trade.
Yeah, but it's way too early still to tell. And I think the bigger reason why they got him is he can play anywhere. So it's not any necessarily he's taking someone's job. He can play in any spot that injuries or another reason comes up where he needs to take someone's job.
And then another trade I want to talk about. It was in contention for the biggest trade for me. It's Jorge Soler to the Braves. And he has 2 more years. He was signed a 3-year deal with the Giants. And they kind of offloaded some money. And to me, there of course are the comps of when they traded for Jorge Soler, and Acuna tore his ACL. But it's very surprising to me that the Braves went and got an outfielder. And of course, they're familiar with Soler, but for an outfielder, they're dedicating time for 2 more years with Acuna in that lineup.
Yeah. I he's been okay. His OPS with the Giants before was 749. He's hit 12 homers this year. Last year he hit 36 and was an all-star. I know that, but he's fine. He's a power bat, and he can have some big moments as we've seen before. He's kind of home run or bust. He's always been that his entire career, but when he does hit them, it can be a shot, and that is what they needed back when they won the World Series. So we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition here with the Braves.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I am intrigued to see how it goes because who's been playing right field for them? I know they had Adam Duvall in outfield, but I don't know if he was playing right field because I don't really see Jorge Soler going DH because that, of course, was the all-star spot for Marcell Ozuna. So I'm assuming he's going to be their right fielder.
We'll have to see.
So, and now I think there's something we've had disagreements. Of course, we just did our quarterback video, but I think we can agree on we can just laugh at the Astros for the Kikuchi trade because they gave up. This showed it was a seller's market or demonstrated it was a seller's market. They gave up 3 prospects. Jake Bloss, who's their number 9 prospect, infielder, outfielder Will Wagner, number 13, and then infielder, outfielder Joey Lopafito. For a guy who has a 4.75 ERA this season. And Jake Bloss, I know, had an ERA around 2. So your thoughts on this trade?
It's interesting. I do think that it is the Astros, and the Astros usually don't make bad trades. So I'm hesitant to say that like it's a definite like loss, but I definitely thought it was interesting, and we'll have to see how it ends up affecting him.
Okay, so Kikuchi has a better ERA than Jake Bloss. He has a 6.94 ERA with 1 loss. But
Kikuchi was a former All-Star. I don't know if you remember that.
I did remember.
Yeah, in 2021 with Seattle. And last year, Kikuchi was pretty good for Toronto. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see if he can return to form.
There was like, I understand your point about the Astros usually don't make bad trades because there have been moments where maybe they see something in Kikuchi stuff. They see something where he can get back to that 2021 form. But to me, I think that was the old front office, and this front office has gone through a lot of guys. I like the GM. I don't remember his exact name when they won the actual legitimate World Series. I like that GM. Dana Brown, I'm unsure about, so I don't really trust him. And giving up a lot of prospects for a guy that is a rental and kind of screams to me they're desperate. And you can be desperate.
I mean, a lot of teams that are making trades do end up being desperate. We'll have to see how it ends up turning out for them.
We'll have to see. This, to me, could be where you point back and be like, okay, this is where this Astros front office is not what it used to be.
We'll have to see.
But yeah, that was a trade I wanted to harp on and kind of laugh at the Astros. But I think we've touched a lot about the trades. Oh, the Mariners did a lot buying, staying in the AL East. They added Justin Turner. They also added Randy Arozarena. So a lot. They're buying. Well, we've talked about them kind of selling, but it seems like they're really going to try to get back to the postseason.
Yeah, they're on a good track with the trades they made. I do like a number of the moves they made. So I am interested to see how it ends up turning out for them. They're not known as a organization that really does buy, so them buying in this manner, I think, is a good sign for their fan base at least.
Yeah, so that's all I really have to talk about with the trade deadline. The Rangers made some nice moves. I liked how they didn't sell, and they added some players, and we'll just have to see how it works out.
Yep.
All right, that is all we got. Let us know your thoughts of trade that we didn't mention or that we did mention and disagree with. Let us know your thoughts, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.